Chilling. Girls are out shopping. Spend the rest of our money.
Okay, you may sit down for a minute.
Oh, it's okay, I'm good.
If the sun doesn't bother you, because before starting our tour in the Vatican Museum, I need to explain to you a few things,
Okay.
so you will understand why we do have the Vatican here in Rome, and especially in this side of the city, and not somewhere else in the city.
Go and sit down.
Okay, so let's sit while she talks.
Yeah.
I'll sit.
I'm good. I'm good. Go ahead and
Okay.
sit down, baby. Go and sit down, hon. Sit
No,
down.
I just want to put my back because it's quite heavy.
Yeah.
Okay, so the reason why we do have the Vatican in this area, come closer, I don't bite, is because in the ancient Roman times, this area was completely empty. The people in Rome were living on the other side of the river Tiber. So if we have the sources of the Tiber River behind us, the river flows down this way. So the city developed on the left bank, let's say, of the river Tiber. That's where the famous 7 historical hills of Rome are located. On this side of the river, this area, this region was completely empty, and it was considered quite unhealthy, not good for living. So no one was living here, but there were a few crossroads, important commercial roads going across this countryside. And according to the Roman law, the cemeteries could not be inside the city walls. They all had to be built outside the city. Okay? And according to the pagan religion, they used to build their cemeteries along the commercial roads. The reason for this is that they believed, the pagans believed, that as long as someone was recalling their names, their souls would survive. For this reason, we have, for instance, probably you heard it, the Old Appian Way. The Old Appian Way is a long way, and on both sides of it you have lots and lots of tombs. For this reason, because the bypassers on their rides and their trips for commerce were looking at the tombs and they would say, oh, this is the tomb of Antonio, that's the tomb of Mario. So for them, this was extremely important, because this was the guarantee that their soul could survive. In this area in particular, we had a very important cemetery belonging, of course, to the pagans, because the first religion in the Roman times was the pagan religion, which the Romans anyway learned from both Etruscans and Greeks. So they imported, actually they absorbed a lot of the Greek and Etruscan culture, and so they were worshipping a number of gods and goddesses, Juno, Jupiter, and so on. And in the year 60 after Christ, the mother of Emperor Caligula bought a piece of land in this area where she built some sort of gardens with pavilions, with fountains, a place where she used to come and relax, but not living anyway. This was not considered an area where people could live. So she just had her own gardens in this area where she would come and enjoy, and then going back to the palaces in Rome City. On top of those gardens, her son Caligula, as he became emperor, transformed those gardens into a private circus. Now, the Romans had many possibilities to enjoy, to have fun. They had the arenas, like the Colosseum for the gladiators fights. They had the theaters where they used to perform either Greek tragedies or Greek comedies, according to the situation. They had the Odeons, which were places just for music concerts. They had the stadiums for athletics. No animals, no coaches, but just men. And they had the circuses where they enjoyed the horse race track, the famous Ben-Hur. The famous Ben-Hur.
Sure, yeah. Sure.
And the difference between this circus in this area and the other circuses in Rome, if you think the Circus Maximus, it was that the other circuses were public, so the spectators, anybody could go. This one instead was private, so only for the emperor, the emperor's guest, the emperor family, and so on. Okay, that's the basic difference. So Caligula built the circus, and the last member of the Julio Claudia family, Nero, he completed the construction of this circus, and he also did something else. According to now the historians and archaeologists, he set the city of Rome on fire because he wanted to gain as much land as possible within the city to build his immense estate, the so-called Domus Aurea. Of course, Nero said he put the blame for this terrible fire, which destroyed about the 80% of the city of the time. He said it's the Christians who did it. So he put the blame on the Christians, and for this reason he started the first persecution. Okay? The first persecution during the first persecution in the year 65 AD, Saint Peter was killed in the private circus of Caligula and Nero.
Wow.
Okay? And since right next to the circus there was already this cemetery belonging to the pagans, a pagan cemetery, the other Christians after death took the corpse, the body of Saint Peter, and buried him in a hole on the ground without name, but just with 2 bricks like this, with the words Petrus Eni, that means Peter is here. So immediately that place, that little grave on the ground in this pagan cemetery, became, of course, the place for all Christians around the Roman Empire, so that they could come to Rome and pray on the tomb of Saint Peter. 3 centuries later, so imagine they had to wait 3 centuries. The Emperor Constantine the Great, in the year 313, finally gave freedom of religion to all the Christians all over the empire. Since that moment, the Christian persecution stopped. Finally, these people were free to build churches, to have their own cemeteries, to live in peace, let's say. And the emperor himself did also something else. He founded the first 3 major basilicas of Rome. The first one is not this, as one would think this is so important, but it's not. The first church founded by Emperor Constantine was St. John's in Lateran.
Where?
St. John's Lateran. St. John's Lateran. And that area where the church was built became also the Papal See. Okay? The second church built in Rome by Emperor Constantine was St. Paul's outside the walls. And this one was only the 3rd church, because since people were coming over and over to pray on the tomb of Peter, the emperor decided to crash down the circus, okay? He crashed down a hill which was approximately as high as the dome, crashed down everything, buried everything which was pre-existing, and built the first church of St. Peter. So this is the reason why St. Peter Basilica is located in this area and not anywhere else in Rome City. But the first church built by Constantine does no longer exist. This is the second St. Peter Basilica. In fact, in the course of the centuries, in the course of history, we have the popes living always in the Lateran. The popes were occasionally coming over here for ceremonies whenever they needed to, but they were not living in this area because the Papal See was still the Lateran. Then in 1305, the popes moved to France, and they lived in Avignon, southern France, for approximately 70 years. So no pope in Rome for 70 years until 1377. Okay. When the popes returned to Rome, they didn't come to live in Rome. They lived in Viterbo, a town not too far from Rome anyway. And it was only at the beginning of the 1400 that Pope Martino V decided to come back to Rome. And at that point, the Papal See, became the Vatican. So the Vatican has been the Papal See only since 1400. So it has not always been the Papal See. Okay, see what I mean?
Yeah.
Allora, okay, so we need also to explain a few other things. Maybe, would you prefer to go inside, to go in a shady spot, maybe? Okay. No, this way,
Vai!
Dove sta?
No, anche, può essere anche il 53.
Just to give you a heads up. And can you take pictures of this place?
Allora, you can take pictures in the museums without the flashlight.
Without the flashlight.
But in the Sistine Chapel, no pictures, no videos, nothing at all. And the restrooms, now it's difficult because the next chance,
Find the book.
the next chance is near the Sistine Chapel, or maybe down this way. maybe it's a shorter way. If you
Well, do you typically have to use the restroom? You have to go to the bathroom?
see, so in a little bit shade. So as you can understand, the origins of the Vatican are very ancient. So the time of Caligula and Nero, we're talking about 1st century after Christ. Okay. We need anyway to complete our historical introduction to let you understand what led the Vatican to be what it is today. And the first thing we need to do is to talk again about the Roman Empire. And the Roman Empire, you know, was covering a huge amount of different countries, and all of them had their own traditions, own religions, different languages. Okay, the empire was a kind of unification factor for this many different people living in its provinces. Well, when Constantine, whose head you can see over there by the wall, it's a big marble head.
Yes.
That is the head of Emperor Constantine. He did two very important things. He gave freedom of the religion to the Christians, and he split the empire in two. He built his new capital, Constantinople, which is nowadays Istanbul.
Yeah.
So he moved over there, and since that moment, the decadence here in the Western Roman Empire started. The country, Italy, as well as the rest of the provinces, the western provinces of the empire, started to be invaded by the barbarians. Barbarians were the populations not belonging to the Roman Empire, so basically tribes from Northern Europe like Scandinavia, Hungary, Orient also. While the Roman Empire in the East survived for many more centuries until 1453, which is when Constantinople was invaded by the Turks. So you can understand, it lasted many more centuries. What happened instead here is that little by little the Italian peninsula was invaded by these many different populations, and in the year 476 after Christ, the Roman Empire was officially over here in the West. At that point, we have the Italian peninsula taken. Each one of those invaders took a piece of the peninsula, and they introduced their own kingdoms. So Italy, since the collapse of the Roman Empire, was no longer one country, okay, but it was a number of different states. Each one ruled by foreigners. It was only here in Rome and in the center of the Italian peninsula that the popes replaced the old emperors, because the people needed to have someone whom they could rely to. And so the popes became, at the same time, heads of the religion, but also heads of state, sort of kings, more or less. And the Vatican, as we know it today, is just a small enclave within Rome City. But for 14 centuries, it means since the collapse of the Roman Empire and until 1861. Imagine how many centuries, 14 centuries, 1,400 years, the Vatican, so the Pope, was actually ruling over the whole of the center of Italy, the whole of the center of the Italian peninsula. So the Vatican for 14 centuries was a huge state. Not what you see today, for sure. It was big, big, big. And a few other things happened in the course of history. In the 800 after Christ, besides the invasions of the barbarians, we have the invasions of the Arabs. And what was the difference? The other barbarians, the other invaders, were Christianized anyway, so they would not do any harm to the churches or to whatever belonged to the churches. They were respectful for the churches and their properties. The Arabs instead, they were not Christians, so for them, churches and whatever was belonging to the churches had no meaning, no importance. So in order to protect this area from the invasions of the Saracens, that's what they called at the time, the Pope Leo IV decided to have walls built around St. Peter's Basilica and the nearby buildings. Okay? So those walls, many centuries later, became the border between Italy and the Vatican. So, and this was the one fact, very important fact. The second important fact is that in 1400, the Pope Nicholas V decided to demolish the first Basilica of St. Peter's and decided to have a new church built on the same site. So the church you will see today is a completely different thing from the original church. The original church had no domes. It was a long building with 5 naves with a large porch in front, so that the people who were not yet baptized could still attend Mass from the outside in the courtyard. All this was totally demolished, and on top of this, they decided to build the new church, the church that you see here. But to build the new church was not an easy thing to do, and since Pope Nicholas V, a few decades went by until Pope Julius II in 1506 called the best, greatest artist of his time to rebuild the church, and he also called Michelangelo to paint the ceiling at the Sistine Chapel. So actually, since the end of 1470 roughly, the works for the reconstruction of the new church started only in 1506 with Pope Julius II. So there was an intermission in between. So what you see today as for the church is the elaboration of many different architects, many different plans, many different additions, and maybe later we will talk more specifically about the church. Now we go back to the museums. Although, as you can understand, the origin of this area is very old, the museums are a rather new thing. When I say new, I mean 1770, which for us is the day before yesterday. You can understand, because we're 3,000 years of history. 1700 is really very, very close to us. And actually, Pope Julius, again, the second, was the one who in a sense, decided to have some beautiful artworks put around the gardens, the courtyards in the Vatican. So in a sense, he actually was the beginner of the Vatican. In 1770 instead, they decided to finally have either some buildings which were already existing here rearranged into museums, or directly to build new buildings to be museums in the Vatican. So what we are going to see on our way to the Sistine Chapel is basically a collection of statues in first place. And don't forget what I just said, for many centuries the Vatican was an enormous country, it was a pretty large country. And all over, especially in the time of the Renaissance, where there was this idea to go back to the classical age, they did lots of excavations all over the Vatican, and they found marvelous things, marvelous artworks. So a lot of these beautiful artworks of past civilization are now in the Vatican. And we will also see the Sistine Chapel, whose ceiling, was is one of the masterpieces of Michelangelo. Okay. Do you have any questions?
If nothing was here before, and it was just country, where did in Moses' time?
Pardon me?
In Moses' time, Moses before Christ, was it here in Rome? Here?
No,
Moses was in Palestine.
Yeah.
Actually, Moses never arrived
No.
to Palestine, to the Promised Land, because he died before. And no, before you mean the civilizations before the Romans.
Yes, the Old Testament.
Okay, the Old Testament in this area. We have some prehistorical civilizations living on top of the peninsula, and then starting from the 8th, 9th century before Christ, we start to have the Greek and the Etruscan colonization. Okay? So according to the legend, Rome, was Rome, the city of Rome was founded by Romulus on top of the Palatine Hill, which is next to the Colosseum in that area. But actually, now the archaeologists are pretty sure that the population who started the city of Rome, the founders of Rome, were from Etruscan origin. Anyway, there were people living in this area. What was the great, what made the greatness of Rome, what gave to Rome the opportunity to conquer the whole of the world of the time was the great, efficient military organization. That was the difference. The others were not so smart, but the Romans were. So they were able to submit everyone else. Okay? Allora, now let's start. Allora, we are now going we shall enter the museum from the gate in front of us.
Okay.
Here, you see this courtyard is called the courtyard of the pine cone.
Yes.
You see the pine cone here? This is a real Roman bronze statue, which was originally in the middle of the outside courtyard of the first St. Peter's Church.
I see.
It was a fountain. And now it is.
And what is this over here in the middle that everybody's looking at?
This is, you must consider that over the centuries the popes received many, many gifts from all over the world.
Yeah.
So this is one of the gifts. It's a modern sculpture, and it was given to Pope Paul VI Paul VI in 1968 by the artist who sculpted it. The artist is an Italian artist. His name is Arnaldo Pomodoro. Pomodoro in Italian means tomato.
I was going to say, isn't it tomato?
So anyway, he's a very famous art. Maybe, I don't know, in Italy he's very famous. Right?
Take a picture of me, yeah? That's things to take, that's good.
Oh, I have a very important recommendation for you.
Yes.
Isaac. You see, inside it's going to be very crowded. Maybe less than usual, but still crowded. So please stay together.
Yeah.
Okay. And remain near me. Stay with me. Inside, it is possible in the museums to take pictures, but no flashlight. In the Sistine Chapel, nothing at all. Okay? Let's go.
I don't know how to turn the flash off, Keith.
Huh?
I don't know how to turn the flash off.
Just turn the flash with the note sign through it. Here, just a minute. I'll show you. Here, see, you got to click menu.
I'm on menu, but I can't read it.
Well, I can get it for you. This is part of their homework. Yes, they got a school here make it part of their homework. It is.
Oh, the whole time we've been so blessed. Everything has been beautiful.
We had such a rainy winter.
Oh, that's good. Yeah. The sun is out. We were very lucky. Our daughter has what they call friendship. We got the rooms at the Marriott, and it's beautiful. And then, of course, we met your friend. Oh, right away.
Basta che è preciso,
You want the crowd too.
Thumbs down on the
So we are now octagonal courtyard, and this was that's pardon me.
This is for the Pope?
What used to be. It used to be the place where the Pope used to, in summer, to have reunions and so on, to enjoy with his friends and guests. This was anyway one of the first attempts of Pope Julius to put some of the most beautiful artworks on display.
Keith, how do you turn the flash off, honey? I don't know how to turn the flash off. It's off now?
Allora, we are admiring one of the most famous artworks of the Vatican Museums. This is called the Apollo del Belvedere. The Belvedere is the name of the courtyard downstairs that we just went through. The Romans, as I explained before, absorbed the Greek absorbed completely the Greek civilization and the Etruscan civilization, and for this reason we have more or less the same gods in the two religions, so the Greek and the Roman religion. For this reason, we have two different names for each god. So, for instance, Zeus for the Greeks becomes Jupiter for the Romans. So we have same divinity, two different names, the Greek name, the Latin. Here we see the statue of Apollo. Apollo was the sun god in the Greek mythology, okay? The god of beauty, the god of light, the god of music, arts, and also father, according first to the Greek mythology, the father of Asclepius. Asclepius was the god of medicine. In this
Sure.
beautiful statue, we can see Apollo as he is just resting for a moment from his flight. Okay. He was probably holding a bow, and he's got the arrows behind his shoulder, and we can see this statue. This statue, Apollo represented as a protector of a human well-being, because next to his leg you can see the snake, and the snake is the symbol of his son, Asclepius, god of medicine. So in this case, we can see Apollo as a protector of a human being. We must make a remark. All these magnificent artworks were for the most Roman copies of ancient Greek artworks, which were sculpted basically between the 5th and 4th century before Christ. Now, we do not have anymore the Greek originals because they were made of bronze, and in the course of history they were melted and they were reused for other things. But we had, especially in the age of Emperor Hadrian, which means 120 after Christ, more or less, we have a huge production of ancient Greek artworks made in marble here in Rome. It was a real industry because it was the sign of wealth for most of the family. Imagine someone in our times driving a Lamborghini car or a Ferrari car, and everybody, look. At the time they didn't have cars, but they have statues. And so they were saying, come to me and see, I just got my new statue of Apollo in my garden. So it was a way to show off. But we must maybe thank these people who were really showing off, if today we can still see those ancient artworks, which would be otherwise totally lost. So, Roman replicas sculpted between in the 2nd century after Christ, or the most, in Rome, and they are replicas of original Greek bronze statues. Okay? Oh, look at the god Apollo. You see, he is stepping ahead, and his head is towards the left. When we shall be in the Sistine Chapel, you will see Jesus Christ in the final judgment will have the same posture. Stay with me. So look at those fantastic
Some big
tubs.
tubs there. That's a bathtub.
These tubs were used in public baths.
That's a bathtub. They're all marble. Wow.
Roman public baths.
Wow, that's
So
a big.
Greek and Romans actually were in this tub.
Wow. How old are these tubs? Very old.
First, second century after Christ.
Wow, ancient. Look at how beautiful it still is.
Yes.
Wow, that's granite, right? That's granite. Marble. Marble. It's look like granite. She said marble. Sharon said marble. It looks like granite to me.
Oh, wow.
I think.
What is this?
Allora, this used to be a fountain. In fact, you can see they put a piece of glass just to remind. The statue is representing a river, probably the Tigris River in Mesopotamia, Iraq, today's Iraq.
Yes.
And the the basin, the water basin, used to be an ancient sarcophagus, a coffin. See. And what we can tell about the people who were buried in this coffin is that certainly were pagans, because the scene, look how beautiful it is, sculpted. It really looks that this fight is taking place right now.
Stepping on that one there.
Okay. This represents the fights between the Greeks and the Amazons. The Amazons, the warrior women.
I was going to say that's a female warrior. You can see the breast on.
That's right. So, but look at the way it is sculpted. It's really marvelous.
Yes.
Really seems that these figures are moving. Gives that impression. So this was a fountain. Now, of course, it's no longer working as a fountain, but just to give you an idea. From the Ilias, from Homer. Now, Ilias is the story written by, big long poem written by Homer, is the story of the war between the Greeks and the Trojans.
Croatians? Trojans.
Now, and the favorite subjects for the artists were exactly either from the Ilias, stories from the Ilias, or from the mythology. This is one of the stories of the Ilias. So the man in the middle, Glaucus, was one of the priests of god Apollo. And he warned the population of Troy not to bring into the city the horse given as a gift by the Greeks. You know the story.
Yes, I know the story.
Ulysses and the
Soldiers.
soldiers.
Yeah.
Exactly. But what happened? As soon as he spoke the words of warning, immediately the goddess Athena, who was the protector of the Greeks, sent out of the sea two huge serpents. As you see, they are wiring around the body of poor Glaucus and the two children, and the serpents killed the three of them. So when the population of Troy saw this, they thought, so Glaucus was a liar. He was not telling us the truth, otherwise he would not die.
Right.
And what they did, they brought into the city the horse, where at night the Greek army sprang out and set the city of Troy on fire. This statue in particular was sculpted here in Rome by Greek artists, Alessandro, Atenodoro and Polidoro, was father and two sons who sculpted this, and this was one of the findings in the Domus Aurea.
You could see it.
No.
So that's an
Look at his
original.
face. Well,
Look at the face. Look at the face of the kids.
Yeah.
The movement is really
In what
amazing.
in what year did he sculpt?
First century after Christ. First century after Christ, and I tell you why. Because this was one of the magnificent decorations of Nero's house. Now, we must also say a couple of more words about this emperor. 65 AD, he killed, St. Peter was killed in his service. But 3 years later, 68 after Christ, Nero was killed. Himself was killed. And the new emperors after him destroyed everything which had belonged to Nero. So in other words, what they did, they tried to return to the population of Rome all the land, all the city surface which Nero had used for himself. That's why we have the Colosseum, by the way. And near the Colosseum, there was the major building, the major construction of Nero's house, which was buried, and on top of which the new emperors built public baths. In 1500, they started to do excavations. Of course, they didn't have all the technology, the possibilities of today. So what they did, they dig holes, and they were going down in those caves, underground caves, and they found those magnificent artworks.
So this thing is 2,000 years old.
See, more or less.
Wow. Amazing.
Okay, Nero's house called Domus Aurea, the golden house, because it was really breathtaking, huge, marvelous, lots of pavilions, lots of gardens, magnificent colors and paintings and artworks, and etc. Now, we go by and you please
Sure.
look at it very carefully, because it's really
Take you some pictures of these.
Лакона никто никогда не видел. Древними античными, которых они читали в оригинале на древнем языке. И они
This statue has also another meaning besides the telling the story of Laocos, the priest of Apollo. It can also be interpreted as fate. So no one can change fate. Laocos warned the population of Troy, and in that way Troy, the city of Troy, could be saved. But the destiny, the fate of the city of Troy was not to be saved. It was to be destroyed, so that Aeneas could flee, could get away from it, could sail along the Tyrrhenian Sea, and could land on the shores of Lazio and be the founder of Rome. So that is the connection. So you cannot change fate. From the destruction of Troy, Rome practically found its origins. That is the meaning. Okay. A little bit faster. And now we're going to go across the first hall here, which is called the Hall of Animals. The animals, there are beautiful statues, sculptures of animals all over, to the left and to the right, which were also decorating private homes, beautiful villas, and etc. But take a look also at the floors, because the floors are real Roman original mosaics. Mosaic.
That's amazing. Go ahead, sweetie.
Więcej czego?
Look at, up and up and
I know, I stuff everywhere. It's crazy.
Your face looks like it. When you go back a little bit, it looks like it's black. And this one's here. Look.
Wow. Wow.
Isaac, take a picture of the guy up there at the top. Way up there.
Isn't that something? They're coming. They're fascinated with all those animals in there, I guess.
Yeah, they need to.
So much still to see. It's overwhelming. My goodness. I've seen so many statues all over.
Allora, if you don't mind, where is it?
Isaac, numbers. Okay, we're here.
Sorry about all these school kids today.
It's a good day for them.
Allora, come this side. Come this way. So this hall is called the Hall of the Muses. You see Apollo again, and this time the god is playing the lyre. So he is the leader of the 9 muses. The 9 muses are 9 women. Each one of them is the protector of one human art. So, for instance, poetry, music, science. You see Urania over there, she holds a globe, and tragedy, comedy, dance. So the 9 muses, and the leader of them is Apollo again, god of beauty, music, god of light. In the middle you can see the so-called Torso del Belvedere, and you see a lot of the statue is missing, but this statue was very important for Michelangelo because when he saw it, he took this kind of beautiful body. You see all the muscles are very well described, and he took this statue as his model for the bodies he painted in the Sistine Chapel. So you will see also the women's bodies, the female bodies in the Sistine Chapel are very strong, very massive. Okay, let's go this way. So where have you been with Father Tour today?
We have not been anywhere. We left.
We've been on the square, but that's all. That's
Yeah,
really
we just waited.
Okay, now we must go in the flow and go around.
That's a bigger tub than the other one.
We got to go that way. Which way?
It's a big jacuzzi there, huh?
Allora, if you are going to visit the city, and you will go and see the Pantheon.
Yes, we're gonna do that next.
You will realize that this room was designed according to the architecture of the Pantheon.
No flash.
No, that's over there. No.
But of course, this is rather new. Architect Simonetti built it in 1770. What is really amazing in this room is the floor.
Which Romans called the colossal statues, exactly like Colossus from Rhodos.
And horses like this, with a half body of a horse and a fish tail. So in other words, this used to be the way in which the ancients tried to explain the movement of water. It's the spirits of water and why water moves, okay? Because they believed there are these mythological beings living in. Again, where are they? Okay, let's try to go around and we stop
Okay.
maybe by
Okay. Okay.
Is it possible to?
I know. I know.
This statue is representing waves, and in the same style we have the statue of Est-ce qu'il y avait des chiens? Il y avait des vaches?
Okay, let's stop here.
She's coming. She's coming. Trying to grab a picture.
Allora, what I would like to point to your attention, of course, is the floor, which is really precious. And it was found in the public baths in the Terme of Otricoli. Otricoli is a small town north of Rome.
How did they do this? How do they
And
reconstruct?
they cut, and you see the joining points. They cut in layers, and then they put the pieces back together.
Wow.
Of course, they didn't take out each one of the
That
little
took a lot of
things. That
work
would
all
be
by itself.
Crazy.
Wow.
Oh, the second thing.
How
Oh,
old is this floor?
first, the second century after Christ again. And what is also remarkable in this room is the water basin down in front. Now think that this big cup was also found in the Domus Aurea, the house of Nero. And imagine that this water basin is one piece of porphyr marble.
How did they get that over here?
So it is not pieces assembled together.
Wow.
It's just one block,
And human beings had to transport.
just one block
Oh my
of porphyr engraved
Wow.
by hand.
Could you imagine?
And it was also found in the imperial home of Nero. Now, the one thing you must know, this sort of marble was the privilege of the emperors. No one else could have statues.
That's like this kind right here?
Right.
This?
This was let's say, the imperial stone, because the emperors used to wear those purpura, very precious clothes, which had the same color. So this was the imperial color.
Purple.
Wow.
And the feet, look at the
Can
claws.
you imagine a block of that?
Unbelievable.
Seriously.
We have to move the front, we have to move it.
Isaac, you see the feet?
Yeah, that's something.
I'm sorry.
Where's she at?
Oh my God, that's all marble. Look at this.
Allora, we just said that porphyr was the imperial stone, so you can tell these two huge tombs were reserved for somebody belonging to the imperial family. And in fact, that was the tomb of Saint Helen, the mother
Of Troy?
of Emperor Constantine. She
Is it Helen of
became-
Troy?
Helen.
Troy.
No, Helen of Troy.
wrong Helen.
Constantine's mother.
Oh, okay, okay.
She
Different
was the one who first who joined the Christian religion.
Okay.
She convinced her son, the Emperor Constantine, to become Christian as well. She went to the Holy Land and brought back some of the pieces, the wooden pieces of the cross of Jesus Christ, and some of the earth from the Calvary Mount. So that was the coffin for her, and this was the tomb of the emperor's daughter, Costanza. The two of them were located in the mausoleum, which was built for Costanza, the emperor's daughter. But when they moved, when the emperor decided to have his new capital city in the Orient, the two of them were taken also to Constantinople.
I don't even know how they move it, how they move that
Now
stuff.
look again at the mosaic down on the floor. This really looks like yesterday made. It's an ancient Roman mosaic cloth.
That's
See,
amazing.
the woman wearing the helmet is the goddess Minerva, the warrior goddess, and the smaller face is the face of Medusa. Medusa is that
Right.
mythological woman with snakes instead of her, who could turn everyone looking into their eye in stone.
Isaac,
This
this is Minerva.
kind of mosaic were usually decorating the entrance of homes, rich homes of course, and this was also a kind of warning, because Medusa is holding the head of, Minerva is holding the head of Medusa, and this was a kind of warning for the visitors, like to say, don't bring any bad luck into my house or you will be punished like Medusa.
Right.
So it was a kind of warning.
Wow.
Room looking more or less reminding the architecture of the Pantheon. In the middle you see the reconstruction of a Roman biga. Biga means two horses chariots. Now, from now on our way to the Sistine Chapel, we're going to walk through 3 different corridors. And of course, I will point to you the most interesting thing. Go ahead.
She can get panoramic, can't she?
Yeah, well, we'll be able to. Look straight up, Sharon. Oh, look straight up above you.
Allora, the first corridor is called Corridoio dei Candelabri, the candlestick corridor. If you look at each side of the arches in the niches, you can see real Roman original candlestick, which were supporting, holding candles and torches. In this corridor, you can see a number of Roman sculptures, and the difference is that even if the Romans took everything from the Greek culture, civilization, yet, whilst the Greek tried as much as they could to represent beauty, proportion, perfection, Romans never left, never went too far from reality. And in fact, you will see some of the children playing and real people, you see. You also see some urns, funerary urns, to collect the ashes after cremation. Romans had both. Cremation in first place, and then starting from the first century after Christ, they also had burial. It was not the only people who, although they were pagans and used to be buried, were the Scipions. Scipions, the African, if you remember, the one who put an end to the war against Hannibal. And these people in the first century, second and first century before Christ, although they were pagans, they used to be buried, not cremated.
Get that ceiling, Sharon? I have the picture here. Dang.
Now I'll show you something really impressive. You see the young man? He has a kind of little tail, so he's not a real man. Again, he is one of the many beings belonging to the Greek mythology, Greek-Roman mythology. He is a young satyr. The satyrs were the servants, or let's say the followers of God Dionysus. God Dionysus becomes Bacchus for the Romans. You can see the young satyr holding, carrying the baby god Bacchus. You can tell he's Bacchus because he holds the grapes in his hands.
This one has eyes.
Correct. This statue is one of the very few ones that still preserve the eyes.
Wow.
All the other statues,
Yeah, the eyes are gone.
the lost. The statues were all like this.
Wow.
With thin layers of glass to reproduce the eyes, and they were colored, they were painted. So this is one of the very few which has come to our times, where you can still see the eyes.
Wow, that's amazing.
Amazing. I just can't, there's so much, it's overwhelming.
There's so many statues. It's just unbelievable.
So now, on this side, please.
Must be something special.
Down on the floor, we can see the coat of arms of a pope. It's not very old. The pope was Leo XIII, and he lived in the mid-1800s. Now, I must finish our historical speech. So I said that since the collapse of the Roman Empire until 1861, Italy has no longer been a country, one country. It was all split into many different states. basically ruled by foreigners. In 1860, the king of Piedmont, northwest by the French border in the Alps district, together with our national hero Joseph Garibaldi, they put up an army, went through the peninsula, freed the peninsula from all these foreign rulers, and they practically unified Italy again. So, going around Rome City, you will see maybe quite often 150, 150, 100. This year, 2011, it is 150 years since this country was unified.
That's why 150 I saw.
Okay? But when Italy was unified and the army of the king and Garibaldi together broke through the city walls of Rome, what happened? The Pope lost all his power because it was no longer his state. His state was gone, like all the other states, and Rome as well fell in the hands of the king and Garibaldi. At that point, the Pope locked himself within the Vatican buildings and said, I am a prisoner of the Piedmontese, of the Italians, because he lost the territory, he lost power, he lost importance. He was a regular citizen as everyone else. This Pope in particular was so unlucky to be elected Pope after the unification and before Mussolini's time, because it was only, so since the unification, it took them another 60 years, more or less, before they could sort out the trouble between the Italian, government and the Pope. So, for 60 years, the popes never came out of the Vatican buildings. And this Pope was so unlucky that he was elected after the unification, and he died before Mussolini, so he spent all his life here in the Vatican.
Wow.
You see what I mean?
Yeah.
In 1929, 11th of February, finally, according also because Mussolini was getting a lot of pressure from the Catholics, because this country is a Catholic country for the most, so he was really under a lot of pressure. And what happened? Finally, Mussolini and the Pope sat down and sorted out the problem. So since 1929, which is again the day before yesterday, we have, according to the agreement signed by Mussolini and the Pope at the time, we have an independent state. Whatever lies within the walls of the Vatican was considered again by, or officially recognized by the Italian government, completely independent. So, the new Vatican is rather recent, because it's only since 1929 that it was officially recognized by Italy, by the Italian government, an independent country. Okay? So, since 1929, these people have got everything on their own. They got own newspaper, own postage stamps, their own coins. They do not issue paper, euros, paper money. They issue coins, basically for collectors. Okay, they got their own television, radio station. Everything is on their own. Own car plates. Okay, the population of the Vatican is only about 800 people. most of them, of course, are clergy. Very few are civilians, very few. But every day they need 2,500 people to keep all this going. Now, all the people that you see working in here, for instance, they are not Vatican citizens or residents. They come to work here, and in the evening they go back home. They're commuters between Italy and okay. So, the interesting about this is that the blue stone is real lapis lazuli. So, it's very precious. Lapis lazuli.
Yeah.
Lapis
The
stone.
blue stone. That's what it's called.
It's a precious stone. Lapis lazuli.
It's a real stone.
Okay, let's go.
When was this put in?
After 1880. So it's not very old. As I told you before, in comparison to the Greeks, the Romans never went too far from reality. And here you see, in fact, a little black boy.
Well,
Wait, what? What was it? Statue of Liberty? What they got?
So he was a little slave.
I have an odd question. Why are most of the sculptures naked? Whoever was the model for the statues or whatever, they're never clothed.
Because this was the statuary of the classical age.
And that was okay. It was just the style to do everything nude.
Yeah. Allora, the next corridor we're going to go across is called the tapestry, the gallery of tapestries. And we shall see two different kinds of tapestries on the left and on the right side of this gallery. So, from here. Allora. Those are tremendous. Allora, no, without flash. No flash. No flash. Allora, in this corridor, as we shall walk straight ahead, you will have on your right hand side the tapestries showing the life of Pope Urbano VIII, a pope who lived in 1600, and he actually was the one who consecrated the new church, the new St. Peter's Basilica, after the reconstruction of it.
He was the one.
He was the one. These tapestries were open here in Rome in a factory which was opened by the nephew of the Pope. Okay? So Urbano VIII on our right. On our left, instead, you can see some other tapestries which were woven in the Flanders, in Belgium, and they were made according to the designs of Raphael's scholars. And these are about a century, more or less a century older than those. So mid 1500s 1623,
Wow.
the others.
That's amazing.
Those are now left.
They're still intact. Still intact, isn't it, son?
Life of Jesus Christ. So we have the adoration of the shepherd, the adoration of the key-wise man with the crown.
It's crazy. There's tapestries everywhere.
And they are continuously restored. They get restored.
Wow, there's so many of them.
They get continuously restored.
Then you can see the Assumption of Jesus. The next two ones, the vertical ones, are very impressive.
Wow.
They are not
Yeah, no, it's a lot of detail. A lot of detail.
faces of the mothers trying to save their children from the killing of innocents. Can you see?
Kunt hier wel allemaal niet, hè? Kijk, het is fijn als zo'n groep blijft staan, dan kunnen wij weer opruimen.
Look at the stone. This is the resurrection of Jesus Christ. Look at the stone at the foot of Jesus. It seems that it will move as we move. Now, as we pass by, keep looking at the stone down at the foot of Jesus. As we move.
Yeah, that's weird, isn't it? Yeah, it sure does.
That is weird.
Wow. Isn't that something?
Wow.
See that? Wow.
Be moving.
Yeah, the stone moves as you move it through.
This is like the basilica that we went to see in Barcelona.
Uh-huh.
That was a beautiful, the Sagrada.
Sagrada Familia. Gaudi.
It's
They
amazing.
said that there's something similar here in Rome. Illusions in here. There's something similar.
There is, well, not as big.
Not as big, that's what she said. But something.
Yes, it's not far from here. It's not far from here. It's tiny.
This off the scene is since 1400 or so.
I guess. Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
She said that it was, or he said that it was something.
Hey, there's a date up there. I got the date up there.
Holy mackerel.
My goodness. Look at this. Unbelievable. Could you imagine? Look at the ceiling of this thing. Unbelievable.
I want to tell you what we are going to see here.
Unbelievable.
First of all, we're going to walk straight forward to the other side. In this corridor, you can see painted, frescoed on the walls, the Italian regions. As we go on our left, on our right,
Please
we
don't
have
stop at the entrance.
the
I'm not in the entrance.
we have the Italian regions
I'm not
of
in
the
the
east coast of Italy. On the other side, we have the western Italian regions. The ceiling, as you see, is so richly decorated, but the paintings that you see on the ceiling are connected with the regions shown below, because these are the life of different saints who were born in the regions represented below. Okay?
This scene is unbelievable. Dang. Oh my goodness. They have to do something like this. Unbelievable. This goes on and on. So each
I know.
wall thing has a different part
It's
of the
amazing.
colony. Each colony,
That is the town
different colonies.
port on the Adriatic.
That's crazy.
East side between
Wow.
Ancona. It used to be, I mean, it is still one of the most important Italian ports, towns.
This is crazy.
Sicily is in front of the
She's probably
it's
not.
there, you see, over there.
Oh, she's ahead of us.
You see, 1, 2, 3, the third behind backwards, that's Sicily.
Wow.
Trying to geography.
Dang. It's too much stuff to tell. You can't record all this. It's too much. Just too much. My goodness. Dang, how the heck they do all this? Dang.
No electricity.
It goes on and on and on. This room's got to be about 1,000 foot. It's probably more than that though. A couple thousand feet maybe long. And the ceiling's the same length. It's the length of a couple football fields, I believe, the way it runs. It's just artwork all over the ceiling, every inch of it. My goodness. Oh, isn't that something?
New Italy on the other side. Get the other side.
Yeah, guys, crazy.
Decided to have those maps painted here is a very important pope. His name was Gregory XIII, and he entrusted two brothers to do this work. One of them, Antonio Danti, was a clergyman and he was also a scientist. So he made all the calculations for the proportions of the different Italian regions. His brother was the painter, Italo Danti. And you can see the coat of arms of the Pope, the dragon, up above the door. And this Pope was very much into science. He was actually the one who recalculated the calendar. Our calendar that everyone uses around the world is called the Gregorian calendar. And it was because of this Pope, Pope Gregory XIII, who in 1582 decided to have the time recalculated again. Okay, so we owe him our calendar.
Wow.
That's what her report was.
The way it looked in the late 50s. So now we are going to enter right away. This is the famous holy door. 25 years. In occasion of 3 babies inside, we still have 5 doors in the porch to remind the 5 original names of the first church built by the Emperor Constantine. In particular here you can see this door. It's called the Holy Door. It's a door which is open every 25 years for the Holy Year or Jubilee. So the next Jubilee will fall in 2025. The last one was the year 2000, which was both the millennium and the Holy Year.
And what is in there? Just what's in there?
You will see inside it is walled. There's a wall.
This
inside.
wall,
It's closed.
Okay.
Only
Okay.
in 2025 it will be open for the whole year again.
Okay. Okay.
That's the year we should come back. What year? 2025. That's the year Sagrada. How old will be Sagrada?
Yeah, you girls would be pretty old by then. Me and I could still be in pretty good shape.
He's 78 years old.
Oh, this is where we
The
were.
shelf you want to go to? Out there.
We're coming back here.
We were actually on the other end of this before, weren't we? This is actually, yeah. Yeah, we couldn't see nothing. 10 minutes post.
Loading on the bus at 10:20.
Yeah.
And the guide wouldn't let us stay.
Guide would not wait.
Didn't you just stay?
5 minutes when the guide.
We wanted to, but we
Because they were taking.
we had left us. We had nowhere out of our suitcase and everything around the luggage.
Everybody, the whole busload of people was very
Take a
angry.
picture of that.
We all said, forget everything else. Just stay. Let's stay
Yeah,
for
we
this.
just said forget the
Yeah.
rest of the stuff.
I'm very sorry.
Yeah, I did.
That's what
The only Wednesday to be here.
This is actually the back view of where we were the other day when the Pope was coming out. He comes out right here and stands on this podium and addresses the audience. We were all the way in the back of the other side of this. You can see the back end of what I'm shooting at right now. We were there the other day. Now we're actually on the back side, actually at the building itself where the Pope comes out from.
Okay, here is the entrance. Okay.
Yeah, she wanted to. The other woman wouldn't let her.
Now we gotta turn our cameras off. I do video. I just do a video.
Okay.